You are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast, the podcast bringing you individuals and businesses that make you go, whoa. One day, I promise, everybody, I will nail that. I promise. Today, we have the incredible, the amazing, the super talented Brandon West. He told me to say this, by the way. Brandon West, CEO and founder of PHOS Creative, a strategic digital marketing agency based right here in our hometown of GNV, baby. Woo! And then we have Jason Hurst, who is the local franchisee. They really don't like you to say franchisee.
Yeah, they hate that. Yeah, it's more charter store owner.
Charter store.
Yeah.
The local charter store owner for Maple Street Biscuit Company, with a store in BUTLER PLAZA and another one opening soon in the TIOGA Town Center. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning.
Pleasure to be here. I love the energy too, man.
Hey, man, I'm trying to pull it out of you guys.
No, I'm up.
It's 8 a.m., you know?
I'm up.
So, Ty, dude, what is going on? We just beat LSU this past Thursday, apparently. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody who's listening, we were just joking about all that because it's July 20th. And as you've heard me say before, we're trying to pre-record enough content to get through August and the beginning of September because we are going to be very, very busy business owners as we enter the new semester, but hopefully we just beat LSU. Well, what's going on, man? How are you?
Yeah, first off, I'm excited to have these guys here, especially excited to have Maple Street in TIOGA. I'm in TIOGA all the time, so
come on.
It'll be nice to not go to World of Beer at lunch to work. I can go to Maple Street.
I remember when it was announced that the second location was coming, and I literally posted on Facebook that all my prayers for the beginning of this year have been answered.
Yeah,
God, thank you,
bless
Jason.
America. God bless America.
But I'll age the podcast real quick here. So I woke up like 15 minutes ago on the couch, and I'm a golfer. So this morning I woke up and I was up early. I was up at like 4 watching Tiger. And it was pretty boring, so I fell asleep on the couch. Oh, no. Alarm didn't go off. Girlfriend got up 7:45. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna be late. So
I would have started without. Just so you know, I would have 100% started without you. And as you walked into this door, I would have embarrassed you.
Yeah.
You would have gotten roasted. I was actually thinking of framing it up like as you walked in and acting like we had just started, just to kind of scare you a little bit. But
that'd have been pretty good.
No, it's gonna happen. We start early. So it's all good.
But yeah, I'm here.
Dude, it's funny because Mike Dees, our general manager here at New Scooters for Less, he took a picture of a biscuit over at Maple Street and sent it to me. And he was like, dude, this culture like radiates us. I mean, like the fact that I had to give him my superhero name so that way when they called my order, I knew it was mine. I was like,
dawned on me. I didn't bring any biscuits.
Dude, yeah, you really messed up there.
We were super
The moment you
disappointed.
walked in the door, I was thinking the same as Jason.
You know what?
Because I'm actually making biscuits for PHOS this morning. That's why. So
In about 5
blame it on
hours,
him.
we're catering for the whole team.
Really?
Right from his
It's his
company.
Are you
fault.
serious?
Yeah, complete irony.
Dude, the timing, that's great.
It's his fault. I'm gonna take the
And
blame for
you're accidentally going to drop some off here? I mean,
it. Yeah, on a scooter actually.
there you go. Hey, we could have a delivery
Yeah.
scooter. That's
You can make
Maple
like a
Street.
heated seat inside.
That's right.
We could definitely
There you
do
go.
that. Don't even try me because it's 100% a possibility. So, well, guys, thanks again so much for being here. We're super, super excited to have you. We always like to start with the origin stories, man.
Oh,
like
man.
I love story. Yeah. Sometimes they can get a little long, so keep that in mind. But I definitely like to hear where entrepreneurs got their start, like what led to this moment where you're at right now, and just give it to us. So who wants to go first? Volunteers.
Oh, Brandon.
So I am Brandon West, the CEO and founder of PHOS Creative. We're a digital marketing agency here in Gainesville, Florida. We just recently celebrated our 5-year anniversary as a company. Did it at Islands of Adventures.
Congrats, man. That's
That was awesome.
That's
We went for a full day down to Orlando and had a full express pass for every single person. Spent the whole day riding roller coasters.
Did you have even numbers for roller coaster? I'm always concerned about roller coaster riding because there's always that one person who has to ride by themselves.
The Lone Ranger.
That would be you.
Did you have even numbers? I'm just curious.
It was great, man. Perfect every single time.
Okay, but did you have 2 even numbers? Like, who was singled out? Was anybody singled out? Did they have to ride by themselves?
Only one person who we later figured out was pregnant and was throwing up that morning.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Hi, pregnant person.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, hope you're doing well, pregnant person.
The first ride that we went on was the Harry Potter ride. That thing is intense.
Yeah.
Had no idea how intense that was going to be.
Yeah, it's intense.
So that wasn't a great start. We probably should have eased into it a little bit more.
Cool. So 5 years down already, man.
5 years.
Nice.
Congrats, that's
So
awesome.
5 years ago, the company started with just me working out of my home office. My wife was homeschooling both of our 2 children at the time. And so I'd be in the office with a portable AC unit to keep it cooler in there because it was off on the side, wasn't well air conditioned in our little home. And I
So
would
what
hear,
you're saying is that your wife was working way harder than you were because homeschooling 2 children has got to be like
yes,
up here.
yes, yes. So the kids
mad
would
props to
go
your wife.
screaming down the hallway during the day, and I'd be in there building some websites and, like you said, just chilling basically while she worked really
Just
hard.
relaxing.
But the beauty of working at home was, could be 2 p.m. and some fresh home-baked cookies would be delivered right at the door by my wife.
There you
So
go.
it was a blast. The first person I ever hired was my best friend at the time, and I wanted to stop him from moving to Atlanta. And so I said, hey, come and work for me and don't move. And so I offered him a small salary to come and help, and that was the beginning of a company for us. And a few months later, I hired 2 more people, so 4 people working out of this home office,
Are you serious?
one on each wall. We practiced great safety procedures by taping down cords that would be throughout the room. Again, we had the AC unit to help keep us all cool, but we didn't have the little window attachment thing where you put the vent for out the window. So we would stick the vent in the window, crash down the window to hold it in, and then close the blinds so that the hot air wouldn't bleed in.
Wow.
How long were you in your house
Serious
for?
engineering.
So 4 people in my house for 1 week while Dave Farrow, a great realtor here in town, helped me find a spot. He let us come in and use his spot while we built out a whole studio next door. And we've scaled kind of year over year, doubling or tripling what we've done. And
But out of the 5 years, was like one of them spent in the house?
about half of one,
About
with
half of
1
one?
week
Okay.
spent with 4 people in that one home studio.
Gotcha.
So, but over those 5 years, we've had a lot of success. We've grown to become the #1 highest rated agency in North Central Florida. We've won 4 Addies this past year, 2 Gold Angel Awards, one of which beat out Publix for a nonprofit category.
Oh, dang.
We've got 12 people here on the team. One of them works remotely, so we've ventured into the remote work program and how that works. But it's been a blast. I've got a great team and a great family that stands behind me as well.
I'm kind of interested on the remote stuff,
Yeah.
so we might circle back on that.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, like how do you get remote people working?
Remote biscuit baking.
Hey, everybody make the biscuits at home. You bring them here, you drop them
right.
off,
That's right.
bootstrap it a little bit. So, Jason, man, you got to tell me this story, dude. Because I know
yeah.
you at Front Street.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Still there.
Still there.
Yeah, still there.
Still there. You're just
Yeah.
like more work, more
Yeah,
work, more.
Sleep is optional.
Oh, cool.
So,
man.
yeah,
how did you get involved with this?
So, random story. I was taking listing line calls when I first started at Front Street, maybe about 3.5 years ago. I started at Front Street about 4 years ago, but 3.5 years into it or so, or half a year into it. I get a call from a random guy that's like, hey, I'm with Maple Street Biscuit Company. We're looking for spots in Gainesville, and I need you to show me some stuff. How he got my name, I don't know. How he got my number, no clue. I'm new in the business, hadn't done maybe more than 2 deals at that point. So I take these guys out. I get to meet Scott Moore, Gus Evans, who were the founders of the company at the time. I didn't know who they were. But we looked at the old Roses Bowl space on 34th. Thought we had iced it down and we were going to open up a Maple Street there, but they ended up going cold on me. So I don't know what happened. But I was like, well, maybe we didn't find the right spot in Gainesville. Are you looking at Tallahassee? Because I managed the market for Tallahassee for Front Street as well. And they were like, yeah, actually, we're on our way up there now. So I was like, okay, well, I've got this spot here that's closing up, and I want you to take a look at it. And they go up there and they're like, well, I love it. How do I get into it? And I say, that's actually my first restaurant deal. We ended up going back and forth. To make a long story short, that ended up being their first location in Tallahassee at FSU at the Lux. So we ended up keeping in touch. Ended up going to actually try the food while I was in Jacksonville on a random vacation. And I don't know how you don't fall in love with Maple Street when you taste the food. I mean, it's phenomenal. But above that, it was a very interesting feeling that I got when I go in there. They had this thing called Gracious Service, which is my first inroad into how they conduct their business. And Gracious Service is one of their four pillars. And I'll tell you a story. One time, and this was a little bit further down the road, we were going into the restaurant. Nobody knew who we were. We were in the process of becoming Maple Street owners at that time. And one of the girls that came out that brought our food, she accidentally stepped on my wife's foot. And my wife was pregnant at the time. And we didn't think anything of it. It was an accident. She was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah." And we were like, "Oh, don't worry about it." We weren't even thinking about it. We had our focus on the biscuits. So we were all good. But she came back and she brought us like a cash refund. She was like, "We don't want your experience to be bad at all." And we were like, "Well, we'll take that." Free biscuit. And you stepped on my foot. So that's just an example of the stuff they do on a daily basis. But anyway, so rewind back to when we were getting into the process. So I was just curious what I needed to do to become an owner. I wanted to go from customer to owner of Maple Street, and I didn't have the money at the time. I didn't have the experience at the time. Now I've got entrepreneurial experience up to wazoo. I've done anything from owning a buy, sell, trade, and repair mobile device business. I've been in the maintenance business. I've owned maintenance businesses before where we clean up parking lots. I had a big parking lot sweeper. So I'm not a stranger to entrepreneurship, but I've never been in a restaurant game. But I'm big on following out your dreams, and I felt like I was getting into a place in my life where Front Street became automatic. It was stuff that I can do within my own means, but what could I do to explore something that was beyond me, that would not just be an effect on, just me and my family, but an effect on an entire community. And I had a conversation with the owners of Maple Street, and their mission, I found out that their mission was to help people, serve others, and be a part of the community. Mm. And if I had a tagline under my name, I was like, dang, that's what the heck I would do. So I ended up starting to talk to a whole bunch of different people, attracted some investors, found out that Maple Street is number 27 on the Yelp list for best places to eat in the entire country, and number 15 on the fastest growing franchises. So all this stuff unfolded. I was like, dude, I got to jump on this. Because back in high school, I wanted to be a franchisee, and all throughout college, I started ordering packets for Tropical Smoothie and Subway and all these different concepts that I wanted to franchise, but I kind of let that dream go dormant and got complacent with the cares of life. But I said, I'm going to step out on this thing. And as soon as I stepped out, I'm a firm believer in the corridor principle, where when you step out into something, you step down to the hallway of your dreams, doors start opening up that you couldn't open up otherwise. So I started going down that corridor, and doors started opening up left and right. So one thing led to another. After many no's and many rejections from banks and friends and family, they're not friends and family anymore. But no, I'm just kidding. But but I ended up finding some great partners who are Papa John's franchisees, and they ended up believing in me essentially, and we ended up opening the TIOGA Town Center location. We're about to open the TIOGA Town Center location. So in doing that and in waiting, and as this thing kind of progressed, because I was getting a little bit impatient, Maple Street calls me and says, hey, it doesn't make sense for us to have a corporate store in town along with a franchise store. What do you think about taking over Butler Plaza? I was like, sounds great, don't have the means to do it. They were like, well, think about it, pray about it, get back to us, and let us know. So I ended up calling more banks, more no's, more rejection, and ended up finding one bank that believed in the concept, believed in me. Went through a grueling process with getting the financing, but next thing you know, I set out on a dream to open up one Maple Street store and ended up with two in my lap. Wow. And I just attribute that to just, first of all, having a dream, communicating that dream passionately, and just watching the doors open up.
Did the same bank help you with both?
No, two different banks.
Okay.
Yeah, two different banks in town, and that was probably 2 out of 20 that I talked to.
Yeah.
So 2 out of 20 options. So the numbers and percentage isn't great, but all you need is 2 people to say yes, and they said yes, and we're off and moving.
Do you mind if I ask if they were more like local banks? You don't
Local
have to say
banks.
they were.
Yep. Local banks.
You know, like I've heard that over and over and over. You know, with the big guys, like you get hit in the face with no after no after no. You really have to go after those local banks that really kind of are also very invested into the community. So good for you, man.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Was this the first like franchise? Like, how many stores did they have before these two?
So before we opened up TIOGA, before we signed a lease in TIOGA, they had 10 stores.
Okay, and
Now
it's
they were-
primarily where?
Oh, so they're in Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina. Just announced Texas is going to be opening in a few weeks here. Georgia and Tennessee. Yeah. So at the time when I signed on as a franchisee, we were the first. I hate to use the term franchisees, so if they hear this, just don't kill the message.
Community partner, bro.
Don't kill the message. But for all intents and purposes, we were the first franchisees to sign on with Maple Street. Traditionally, they had wanted to be just community stores led by the Jacksonville corporate office, and they don't like the word corporate either, so please forgive me. The family office. We were the first franchisees to sign. Not the first franchisees to open, but the first franchisees to sign. So we were very proud of that. And at the time when we opened TIOGA, there was about 8 stores. They're now up to 28.
Dang.
And this was just a year and a half ago.
Dang.
So they're growing like Walmarts. Man. They're just all over the place.
All over.
Yeah.
Ty, I thought you were about to ask something.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think the first location was in Riverside in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Downtown.
It's the original.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good spot to go to on your way to Florida, Georgia, for
Yeah,
sure.
San Marco area, Jacks Beach. They're all over Jacksonville. Yeah, they're very well regarded in Jacksonville.
Have those guys like been any? You know, I'm just curious from the. I don't want to use the word franchise either. I'm scared. Sorry, Maple Street.
He said it, not me, guys.
Hey, you know, do those guys serve really as kind of like mentors, like in this? I mean,
Oh God, yeah.
how is that relationship?
Yeah,
been? I mean, you've known them for how long now?
3.5 years. Yeah, 3.5 years. They have been very much so mentors. Just not even just from a business standpoint, just from a personal standpoint. Their ethics and their personal convictions really come through in their business model, and you can tell. And there's a certain type of people that they hire as well. It really resounds in their culture, and it's so interesting. So the process for going through the quote unquote franchisee model was completely grueling. Like they gave us like this 19 question questionnaire that like got into my soul. Like I felt naked and afraid. But it was good because it really dives into who you are as a person. Because there's only a certain people that they have as part of their model. And they also had us read Good to Great. We read this book called Raving Fans, Crucial Conversations, How to Communicate when the stakes are high. So like I had to go through all this, and then they had this thing called Confronting Reality, which tries to scare the bejesus out of you and getting into the restaurant business. But I actually loved it more after the Confronting the Reality process. So you basically spend 3 days in a restaurant, and you work on the dishes, you work on the line, creating the biscuits, you work as an ambassador or their term for cashier. And it basically tries to scare the mess out of you. You got and that was in Jacksonville, so I had to leave the house at like 4 a.m. just to get there. I was in Jacks Beach, and then I was in their new Fleming Island location. So it actually made me love and appreciate them more because of going through that, because it's a very unique culture, and I appreciate it.
The BUTLER PLAZA location, that one's running, that's up and going. And how far is TIOGA from being complete?
Next week. We'll open next week. By the time this podcast will be on, we'll be open.
Okay.
Hopefully. No, we'll be open.
2 months in. So I heard like this morning I walked in and you were talking to Brandon a little bit about like the fact that you guys were hiring quickly. I mean, how do you ensure when you got to go from 0 to, I mean, how many team members are in a restaurant at a time?
Ideally, we have 20 on staff.
Like working?
Half full-time, half part-time. Well, now on Saturday, everybody's working. 20 people, we need a minimum.
I mean, going from 0 to 20.
Yeah.
like quickly
Yeah.
can very well, shake up culture. I mean, what things do you guys do to make sure that you're hiring correctly?
Yeah. So
And that you're getting people whose values align with y'all's.
Yeah. So for us, we define what the heck we want. Because for me, a culture is a shared set of values and a community of beliefs that everyone holds dearly to them. So for us, it was more so finding the people who we admire, the other businesses that we admire, like a Chick-fil-A. And not that we went to steal them, but we encourage them to come over. So we go to businesses that we champion, like Starbucks, and again, encourage them to come over. Let's just say that. And then we inboxed churches. We saw people that we liked initially, that our initial hires, and we asked them to go bring their friends, because usually birds of a feather flock together. Nice. So it's been. Usually it'd be a little bit of a challenge. I mean, we haven't taken everybody, but I'd say 80% of the people that we've interviewed, we've hired because of the places that we fished. We knew what we wanted out of people, so we went to people that we admired and businesses that we admired and attracted those people.
Now, Brandon, I know you have kind of a solid, I'm trying to look for the right word, solid hiring process. It's not like, oh, hey, welcome, and then right in the door. I mean, what things do you, because you also have a fantastic culture at your place. I mean, what things do you do in order, same question basically, to ensure that you're hiring the right kind of people?
Yeah. Well, I love what Jason said, that culture begins with values. I think that really sums up every part of what those interactions will look like on a daily basis, not just on your team, but your team with your clients. And that's how you can judge success. Did we fulfill our values today? That began for us about 3.5 years ago. So I hired somebody who was great at strategic planning to come in and help somebody who was weak, me, in vision casting. Where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? I don't know. But I know tomorrow I'm supposed to do it a little bit better than I was doing today. And so I had trouble with projecting out on the future. And so I had somebody come in, a business consultant. I hired Bill Dorman and Cross Linear Business Consulting here in Gainesville to come in and help me unpack that. What is our mission? What is our vision? And what are our values? To this day, those values that we set 3.5 years ago are the same exact values that we've had. And every single week we take time to give shout outs on the team for people putting those into place, putting those in action. How have we sought to employ our values in the past week? Give me some examples. And people will say, hey, shout out to John for doing this. Hey, shout out to Alexis on the team for doing that. Such a great example of this value on our team. The things that you celebrate are the things that you'll see regularly at your company. I think that's where culture begins. Our mission and our vision, those things have changed. I love what you shared, Jason, about the mission of Maple Street Biscuit Company. That's beautiful, man. I remember the first time I wanted to change my mission statement, I freaked out. I'm thinking, like, people don't change their mission. You can't ever change your mission. Like, that's why you exist. If you change it, you're a different company. And I realized that, and to anybody who's thinking, I don't know if my mission accurately defines who we are anymore, that's okay. It's a journey to unpack that. Yeah. And it's taken me years to get deeper and deeper and deeper into my why and why we exist. I remember our first mission statement was to make the internet a better place by helping companies look good and get found online. And I realized about 6 months into that, if I did that, life wasted. I really care very little about the internet. People put on my tombstone, he made the internet a better place. Life wasted. And so now our mission statement's completely different. It's taken multiple iterations to get down to really in the end what really fires us up, what fuels our culture on a daily basis. What do we actually want to celebrate at the end of any engagement with a client? And so now our mission statement is to empower our clients to market through their mission to reach their vision. Wow. So we care about what happens to a company, a client, in the end. Do we help them reach their vision that they have for the company? And how are we going to do that uniquely? Uniquely is going to be through their mission, because that's what defines each company in its unique place. PHOS, this word that defines my company, it's the Greek word for light. That's what I studied in college, classical studies, Greek and Latin language, Greek and Roman history. It helped me be a teacher for 4 years. Then it helped me come up with a new name for my company. So that was the second great usage of my degree. PHOS, it's the Greek word for light. And this concept of light for us is, again, it's part of the culture of how we helping companies look good and get found online. That part of that initial vision that would just say, hey, look, there's a sea of sameness out there. You look at the digital landscape and there's, okay, yeah, oh yeah, that brand kind of looks like that brand. Oh yeah, that brand's sort of similar to that. Similar messaging, similar photography. How do we help companies escape the sea of sameness? And that's what being a light is about. Piercing through that and saying, here's how we're going to be different with messaging, with video, with media. And those things have helped drive our culture as well. The hiring process is just really a reflection of all that. We typically have 80 applicants for any given position. About 20 of them will get a phone call. About 10 of those will get a first date. About 5 of those will get a second date. And in the end, only one offer is going to be made. But it's a cool thing when we're realizing that's like a 1.25% conversion ratio. 1.25% of the people that apply get to work at my company. I pointed out to my leadership team the other day, hey, you want to know who has a lot higher success ratio than those applicants? It's our interns. We've spun up this amazing internship program over the past couple years. Our interns have a 15 to 20% conversion ratio because we bring them in and we get them involved in that culture and they get to see it on a daily basis. I get to see, are you a great fit? Have you really adopted that culture? Do you on a daily basis display our core values? And then if they do, we're saying, hey, we really want you to be a part of this process and stay on. So the hiring process, it's pretty rigorous. I remember just recently we hired somebody. The last step, this was honestly like a 4th date for her. Took her out to lunch. And I just wanted to hang out and see how it would interact. Had another leader with me on the team. And I just asked her then, what do you think of our hiring process? And that was my giving her a lot of freedom. I was hoping that she would critique this. If she wouldn't, I didn't sense enough transparency to hire her. So I said, what do you think of our hiring process? She's like, well, it's been good. I said, seems like you're hesitating there. What's going on? And she said, well, I'm not sure you know what you're looking for. And I said, boom, I'm going to hire this girl. And so then I turned around and I said, hey, I just want you to understand, it's not that we don't know what we're looking for. It's that we're really, really set on what we're looking for. I'm just trying to make sure that's you. Expect an offer from us later this week.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Really cool.
I need some interns. I miss it.
Well, as you look back to, you said 3.5 years ago is like when you really started zeroing in on that mission, vision, and values.
Before that, it's all organic. You just hope that your culture is something that just sort of happens, and it's this loose thing that just kind of exists upon its own, but it has no measurement. You can't go back and say, did we do well at our culture? Because all you have to base it on is the past week, past 3 months, past 3 years, and say like, we're pretty much the same. I think we're doing pretty well. Our culture is pretty fun. And you get these people who, take culture to mean the luncheons that you have with your team.
Right.
That's not culture.
The things, the perks,
Yeah. And our culture is really good, but our work, it's brutal. No, your culture is brutal.
At that 3-year mark, how many people did you have?
At the 3-year mark, we had about 8 to 10 people.
Okay, you know what? I was at that same stage. Like, I remember, I don't know how many years it was after. It was probably a little bit longer than that. I mean, like our values, right, were really my values. Like when it's one person and then you hire on the first person, the first person, and then a couple more, and you got like 4 or 5 people. Like you're bringing in people or you're looking for people who have your values, but there's nothing that's like really like these are our values. Like my values were always, to treat others the way you wanted to be treated. You know what I mean? Like simple things like that. And then I realized right around that time, I think we had, again, like right around 8 to 10 people was when we sat down and we're like, you know what, guys, this isn't my company anymore. This is our company. Like, what are our values as a company and what do we want this to look like? And I think that's a good size. I get asked that question a lot. And that's why I'm like, kind of just staying on the subject. Is because I can't tell you how many business owners were like, hey, when did you sit down and say, we're going to like lay out these values?
Yeah, I would argue that by the time you hire your first person, you ought to be thinking in that direction.
Yeah.
We're helping right now do some strategic planning for a very small company. And she just hired a friend about 4 months ago. She's sitting down now at the front of her business and working with just this one person to say, what's our culture going to look like one day and what are our values going to be? I think that's brilliant. That's setting yourself up for success.
You know, what's interesting, when we essentially took over and inherited the BUTLER PLAZA restaurant about a month ago. And I can't say that they shared the values and the culture of what Maple Street was supposed to be. We went around the circle and it took about 15 minutes, but one person had one of the part of the mission right, the other person had another part of the mission right, and we ended up putting the mission together, but nobody really knew what the heck they were doing. And the MO of a Maple Street restaurant is to have gracious service, comfort foods with a modern twist, and then help people serve others, be a part of the community. And nobody knew what the heck they were doing. So we were kind of like a helpless amoeba. But I will say this, they were very successful. But how much more can you be successful when you're actually following and implementing the mission? So right now we're going through a whole process. We're retraining everybody. We're constantly reminding them of what the mission is. And I love what Brandon said, asking them at the end of the day, what did you do to help people? What did you do to serve others? What did you do to be a part of the community? And I think that consistency and that momentum continues to resonate in your heart to where it becomes a part of you. And it becomes a part of the way you do business.
I love that about your story as well, because you talked about impact in the community. You talked about it on a wider basis than those 20 people that work for one particular office. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you wanted to have an impact beyond just the people in the store?
Yeah, so another thing that we noticed when we took over the BUTLER PLAZA restaurant is that they've done very well for, kind of implementing what they knew about the mission to the people that were in the restaurant. So they did well in doing that. But we had not yet gone outside the walls and the doors of into the community. So immediately what we did was, my wife is on the board of Girls Place. Obviously talked to a whole bunch of people and being in real estate, and we started to connect them with what the mission was of Maple Street Biscuit Company, because I like to say we're in the people business first, even though the food is very good. Food is the common connector for most people, so we want to make sure that that's good too. But we are in the people business first. So we just went out and started going out into the community at Girls Place, did a catering order for them, called you and let you know that I was in the business. We just let people know that we were there and why we existed. And people had no idea. They just thought we were just comfort foods with a modern twist. But no, we're here to serve you guys. We've had churches come in and have events there so far. We went out to Tent City, Grace Marketplace, and just served biscuits, just gave away a whole bunch of biscuits. And not that we're looking for a pat on the back, but that's part of our mission. And even now in BUTLER PLAZA, we have a very unique place. At night, I didn't realize there was such a homeless problem over there. So we don't want them necessarily loitering around our restaurant, but we'll give away biscuits at the end of the day. We'll ask them to leave, but we'll send them away with lovely parting gifts. But no, we that's why we exist, and we really had to. And now it's starting to resonate, and it's becoming contagious within the culture of the people that are there now, and they're starting to get it, and they're bringing over people like, oh, this organization needs this organization needs, and we can't bless all of them. We still have to run a sustainable business, but now it's starting to resonate and become contagious. And it's been a really awesome journey.
Dude, I know you're not looking for a pat on the back for that, but I just want to say, like, this is greatness. Good to great, like, this is greatness in a company. I think, how many of these modern brands are moving towards this idea of, like, how we give back? Yeah. I just got Facebook marketed this morning for a business that started with two men who were told that they were going to be blind in 6 months. You have a disease, you're going to go blind. And they started this business, Two Blind Men or something like that. And it's a clothing line. I want to say they give 100% of all their profits back towards blind research. I mean, how many of these brands are just moving in that direction? I remember about 2 years ago, an amazing event happened in my life that really changed the entire direction of my business. I was down at a concert, ironically, Matthew West, Brandon West.
And
Matthew West.
we were just talking about this the other day because I keep wanting to call him Matthew. I'm like, all right, Matt, so what's your order for this week? And his name is so Brandon. It's not,
So I was
not
sitting out there. Matthew West is a contemporary Christian artist. I was sitting out there in the crowd and I was just shouting out, "Brother!" While he was on stage. Matthew West, a lot of these singers, they'll bring some sort of ministry or nonprofit with them and they'll talk about it. During the break, he talked about Compassion International, and he talked about their fiscal responsibility. He talked about his pushback on these kind of things, like, I don't really know where the money's going. Do you really do what you say you're going to do? Is helping one kid really all that helpful? And his cynicism towards compassion really resonated with me. Mm-hmm. Like, do I have an impact if I just give you $38 a month? Is it really that big? And then they called him and flew him out to one of the sites where they sponsored a child in Africa. Wow. And he said that week literally broke his heart when he arrived for the first time and a child ran up and jumped into his arms and said, thank you. It rocked his life. And that day, I chose to sponsor, and I had a choice. Which credit card am I going to give? My credit card or PHOS's credit card? At the last minute, I chose to give PHOS's credit card for the payment for this child. And that was an interesting choice for me because now the company was paying for a child to be sponsored overseas. And it took me like 3 months to wrap my head around that. Like, my company now exists and the profits that it makes helps rescue a kid from extreme poverty overseas. And that became part of our mission. So we adopted a global vision at that point that by the end of the year 2020, we would have 20 people on our team supporting 20 kids overseas. And at the end of each year, part of our end of the year giving goes towards compassion as well. And last year I sat down, and when you're talking about this idea of how your team has begun to embrace that vision, last year at the end of the year I sat down, and it was one of the last days in December where I give out end of the year bonuses. Like, hey, you've been a great employee. I just want to thank you. Here's a check for X amount of dollars. I had 2 people, okay, that morning when I sat down, here's, thank you so much. Here's your bonus or whatever. Tell me, hey, Brandon, I know you just this morning you sent out a query to everybody on the team asking, like, how would you like PHOS to give to Compassion this year? And you get to choose, like, I want to buy Bibles or mosquito nets, or I want to help with this water problem, or buy a goat for a kid overseas, or a cow or a farm, or I want to, all these different things you can pick from this magazine of Compassion. I had 2 people that morning tell me, just give my entire bonus this year to Compassion.
Wow. That's cool.
Wow.
I was literally in tears.
Yeah. Giving is contagious, for sure.
Yeah, so I just want to thank you for what you're doing there, man, and just encourage people here who are listening to this as well. Consider, Andy Stanley asked this great question about purpose. He says, what breaks your heart? People who want to give back just so that they can have that PR component, forget it, wasted. But if you want to ask yourself that question, you're willing to say, what breaks my heart? You'll find purpose. And you'll find something you can wrap your heart around, wrap the purpose of your company around, wrap your mission around, wrap your culture around, and really have an impact, not just with those people, but the community as well.
I got to think that it's a little bit easier for companies like yours and mine because of the fact that we might be able to retain our talent a little bit longer. And maybe I'm completely wrong. Like, I know you haven't been at Maple Street too long, but when you look at places where I would think turnover of team members is a little bit higher, a little bit quicker. Maybe they're in for school, and then when they're done with school, or in and out. Like, how long is the typical team member over at Maple Street?
It's interesting.
Maybe I should start there.
It's a fair statement because in the food business, typically turnover is very, very high.
And where I was going with that is how do you continue to instill that purpose over and over and over? Like, I think the things that you're doing are great. Saying, what did you do to serve somebody today? That's obviously doing that, and you're constantly reminding them of those values. But I still think it's got to be a challenge with a team of 20 plus people. Yeah. Where the turnover is typically a little bit higher.
We're not paying them $1 million, right? So it's hard to retain them. But that missional living is really what gives them purpose. There's been multiple studies about millennials. They are really looking for something to connect to, and to really connect to a mission. and I wish I can reference study here, study there, but I've read multiple studies about how millennials, how they live and how they think, because a lot of the people that we hire, especially at the BUTLER PLAZA location, are millennials. And even at TIOGA, we're going to be hiring a bunch of millennials, whether you define it as 18 to 35, whatever. Missional living is really what they're trying to connect to. And Maple Street has done a fantastic job of creating that culture of connecting to a mission and making it more than just biscuits. The food is just icing on the cake. I'll give you a story. There was a lady that was one of the first hires at Maple Street in the San Marco location, or maybe it's Murray Hill, one of the locations in Jacksonville. Her name is Chelsea. Scott Moore, who's the founder of Maple Street, was heavily involved in the operations at that time, and just took notice that her shoes were a little bit worn out. This was her first job. She's just getting back on her feet. And he said, come outside with me. We're going to go for a walk. He's just kind of picking her brain about how she was liking Maple Street, anything that they can do to make it better for her. And he purposely takes her by the Tom's store. And he knows in conversation that he had in the past with her that she loves Tom's. So he walks in. He's like, you like Tom's, right? And she's like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Why are you asking me that? And before they leave the store, he buys her a pair of Tom's. And she's been with Maple Street since the beginning because of that moment. So what Scott did when he rolled out the franchisee or the charter store model was that he mandated that a portion of our royalty fees, let's just call it 1% of the royalty fees, is mandated to give back to your employees to make sure that they are in some benevolent way taken care of. And we ingrained that into our employees that this is not just a place to work. This is not a job. If we use the term job, you get in trouble because we are part of a mission. And if you are coming to work here, you need to have some kind of understanding of that mission. And that's the way we hire. And that our turnover is very low at Maple Street. I mean, obviously there's kids that are graduating and moving on and want to go back home, but by design, we retain a lot of employees, a lot, and it's very unique for the industry. Because I can tell you right now, I can go into a restaurant any given time and probably see new faces every single time I go. But we try not to make that at Maple Street way.
I got to say, dude, every single time you use the phrase icing on the cake, I'm thinking icing on the ice cinnamon pecan.
You got some of those coming your way, shortly.
Okay, I'm just saying, if you've not been to Maple Street yet or you've not had their ice cinnamon pecans, you need to hook it up. I think
now I got to bring you some back.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's the biscuits
I'll be
you got to
back.
bring
I'll be right
back.
back.
We're eating it right now.
Yeah,
on
I'll
the
be
show.
right back.
Colin, I think that question is such a beautiful question about retention. I think the phrase you used was missional living.
Yeah.
And the fact that this isn't a job, you're committing to a mission, that's just beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. I remember a few years ago when I worked at a school here in town, I was making zero money. Zero. And I remember my pastor at the time, I would talk to him and he would say, yeah, I used to work at a school as well. And he would tell me about his principal, his headmaster at his school. And he would tell me this one phrase that his headmaster would use. And his headmaster would say publicly in front of his whole team, he would say, my job is to make sure you guys are compensated at the highest level possible. So one, I never heard that from my leadership team at all. But two, when I heard it, it made me desire a culture in which that was the case. And I remember the impact that had on me to learn that if the leadership team is after your best interest, what a culture that builds. And so about a year ago, I was challenged by my vision statement, the 20 children with 20 people. I said, that's good, but my business consultant was encouraging me. I'm not sure that's really enough. It doesn't really unpack exactly what you're going for. It's not super clear. And so it took me 1 year to write one sentence that helped me to wrap my heart around that thing that breaks my heart, that purpose statement. And so about 3 months ago, I rolled out to the team what I called our expanded vision statement. So our vision as a company, our expanded internal vision statement, is to be a company that team members never want to leave, clients can't do without, and that the world is better for. So publicly now, I just communicated to my team, I believe that I exist, and my vision to build this company is to build a company that team members never want to leave. That changes the landscape.
Yeah.
To say the leadership team is now about building a culture here and building a team that you never want to leave. What can I do to make that happen? How do we work together to produce retention together? Because if you believe in this mission, and I never want you to stop being a part of it.
All right, so I got a question for you. Now you have your first remote employee, right? Remote team member. Better word for it. How do you get that buy-in from somebody who works remote? I think there's something about being in the environment, right?
Yeah.
Like I get it. Like the culture isn't necessarily the things around you, right? It's the people, it's those values, it's that mission and vision. But when there's something about being engulfed in it all the time, being there, being surrounded by the other people, right? Now you have a team member who is, remote. Like, what things are you gonna do to ensure that culture bleeds into that individual or those individuals as you continue to grow?
Yeah. I can't speak too well about that yet because it's very
Still new.
It's very new, but at the same time, I also feel somewhat incapable of speaking to this because the team member who is doing this has been the one to construct the vision for it around the mission of this company. And while I'm new to this, I would say this: hiring team members who work here in the office, that's extremely difficult. Hiring team members who would be remote is even more difficult because what they have to embrace can't often be quite as felt. Yeah. And so much of culture and customer service experience is about what is felt or perceived. Technology is obviously the tool that creates these barriers and these bridges. Every time I call her, I don't call her on the phone, I call her on Slack. And when I call her on Slack, video's enabled every time. I got to see your face. We got to be doing this all the time. But she's an incredible asset to our team. She's a person who at an exemplary level believes in our mission and our values and wants to see that implemented in a remote work program. So she came to me and said, here's what I will do and here's what I will commit to make our vision and our mission and our core values happen on a daily basis if you allow me to work from a remote work team. Wow. She laid out a plan. She used to work at Dell. She had remote, I want to say her boss was in a remote position when she worked there. That's a pretty difficult thing to do. Wow. And so she knows that culture and she's saying, I want to bring that to PHOS. I want to forward our company through that.
Okay, so with everything said so far in this conversation, what would you guys say is the biggest threat to your company cultures?
Yeah, bad hires. If they don't, I heard it said somewhere, I can't remember where, but culture eats vision for lunch every single day of the week. And if you hire wrong and don't have that culture, you're not going to go very far. So I think that hiring is very, very, very important. A bad hire will set you back not only financially, but it can set you back culturally. So I would definitely say bad hire, not getting that level of consistency. One thing that keeps me up at night is how are we going to recreate the Maple Street Way, not only in having taken over the BUTLER PLAZA restaurant, but also in opening the TIOGA restaurant, being able to have that consistency to where you go to one Maple Street in Jacksonville or say Chattanooga or say Frisco, Texas, and then you come to Gainesville. Are we replicating that Maple Street Way? And I think that a big part of that is because the two biggest costs for a restaurant are labor and food. So food, let's just set that to the side because that'll kill your business too. Kill your stomach as well and your toilets. But definitely the things that we can control are the food and the labor. And if the labor is not right, I think that could be a death sentence.
I learned that lesson the hard way. I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but like we, 1 year I had hired a tech, and this was a long time ago, and brought this person in, and I knew in my gut that it was wrong. Mm-hmm. I knew it was wrong, and I need to let this person go. He's not a right fit. And my team was so desperate for help that they were like, oh, but Colin, I get it, but we need, just keep them on, look for somebody else, but keep them on until we find more help, and we just need more help. We're drowning, and I felt bad. So what did I do? I kept him on. And a very short time later, he goes out for a test drive on a scooter. I think he was smoking a cigarette while driving it, hit a speed bump, like in some parking lot, North Gainesville, an area that he shouldn't have been in. Ends up breaking his collarbone.
Oh.
Ends up, having this workers' comp claim that was like over $100,000. I mean, it was something ridiculous. Wasn't able to work for the time that we needed him for, right? So he wasn't able to work anyway. and then of course, in your mind as an employer, at that standpoint, you're like, man, like I knew this guy was wrong from the beginning, and now he's going to come back, and now it's like I can't fire him because now he's hurt, like, are you going to fire him because he's hurt? You know what I mean? That doesn't look good. And when the truth is, like, I wanted to fire him because he was just a terrible fit and a terrible team member. And I knew, and oh my gosh,
painful,
it was painful.
Yeah.
It was painful. And then he goes on even further from there, because then he comes back, and then I feel like obligated to keep him. He ends up dropping a customer scooter, right? Like on its side. Customer comes to pick it up, and later picks it up, goes home, and then calls me and is like, hey Colin, there's some damage on the side of my scooter that wasn't there before. I was like, what are you talking about, man? I was like, well, I'm sorry, like it didn't happen here. And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure it did. And I was like, look, man, like we have very strict policies when it comes to this. My team knows that they can come to me, like we're going to take care of it. They're not going to lose their job. I mean, accidents happen. Yeah. Like we've created this culture around that, and like, and sure enough, he did drop it. Another team member thought he had told me about it, and I had found out that he had dropped. I'm like this just got deeper and deeper and deeper, and I cannot tell you how bad it is to keep the wrong person. When you know in your gut that somebody is a wrong fit for your team, get rid of them fast. I mean, fast. I don't care how desperate your team is for help. Get rid of them fast, because that was the hardest lesson that I've had to learn when it comes to hiring and firing and
and document it really good along the way.
Oh yeah,
that's right. No doubt about it.
Well,
man,
I think
nightmare.
Jason, Colin, you guys are dead on. I think the number one threat to culture is definitely the people we hire and consistency. But if I could maybe just offer another perspective, or maybe the third thing on that numbered list right there, I would say at times the biggest threat to the culture of my company is myself.
Wow.
That I don't realize that while culture is assessed at a big level, a macro level, right? You take in all interactions and you define, we have a good culture. It is persuaded by micro interactions. Every word that I use, every imperative verb that I command, every adjective that I use to describe somebody on my team just slightly changes the perspective, just for a moment. It rows the boat in a different direction for just a moment, where they're going, is Brandon really in on this? Does Brandon really believe in this? Does Brandon really, does he care about me on this team? Does he believe that I have an impact here in this company? And I think sometimes I just need to realize that I'm a ceiling, not just to our executive level thinking and strategic planning. I'm a ceiling to our culture. Yeah. And that if I don't come in obsessively positive every day, seeing my leadership as something more that I'm supposed to give away than get from the people on my team, I'll completely destroy the culture of my company. Yeah. If I'm not an example on a daily basis of each of our core values, I won't see that reflected in my team.
That's so good. And if I can expound on that, that's an outstanding metaphor. I love that very, very much. But I would also say, you can be a lid as well, but not trusting your teammates and not trusting the people that you've hired and vetted out and spent so much time with and pouring into. Because I know I've had this challenge before. I think I can do everything very, very well, but why do I need those people on my team? Well, they're the arms and hands and the feet of the vision. And if I can get you to perform at 80% of what I feel like I can do 100%, I can roll with that. Yeah. The 20%. We'll just continue to correct and continue to train. But if I can get 80% of what I think I can do well, because sometimes I'm just high on myself, and it probably shouldn't be. I can also be a lid if I do not put that trust and lead and do that, because leading is really just influencing people to get the best out of them.
Yeah, that's so good. I think one of the biggest lessons I've been learning recently about trust is that trust is 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step. If you see it that way, it completely changes the way you think about onboarding and training people on the team. Wow. I'm gonna give you a little bit of freedom, but I just want you to know I'm gonna review that email before it goes out.
doubt.
And then next time you could send it out. But if I hear anything back, we'll talk about it. Yeah. And then you can handle all that, and this is what's going to happen. It's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back, always. And people know that from the beginning. Here's the gate that you operate at first. It's small. And then the gate gets a little bit wider. And then the fold gets a little bit wider each time. But that there's going to be transparency along the way. Regarding people who can do things for you or delegation, I think another big lesson that I've been learning recently is that some people's garbage is another person's treasure. This is another thing that I got from Andy Stanley. The idea that there are some things I hate to do that other people love to do. I'm building this thing. If any of you guys are following our Instagram story, by the time this airs, it'll probably be done. My Instagram story has been showing a giant project that I've been building with my kids. It was a Connects piece. My wife and I have a deal like, hey, anything over $50 that you buy, we agree upon it before you buy. I came home one night and I said, baby, I made a mistake. I bought a very, very large, I won't even tell you how much, Connects Ferris wheel. Dang it, I just gave it away. Well, that's okay. It's going to be done by now. It's 6 foot tall, has 8,867 pieces. It's taken us 7 weeks to do, and we're probably only 60% of the way through this project. It's gigantic. It's amazing. I had a friend come over one day, and she saw all the little boxes that we had of all the little pieces, the white ones in this box, the red ones in this box, and she looked at it, and she was like, if you need any help organizing these in the future, let me know. I will literally come over just to organize. It'd be so much fun. And I look at her and go, that was the dumbest part of this job. I hated getting those out of the bag and putting them in there. I'd just rather build it, man. That's the fun thing. One person's garbage is another person's treasure. So when you hang on to everything, you kill your culture.
No doubt about it.
People want to do the things that you hate it sometimes. Give it away, and you'll empower people on your team.
Well, Ty, I mean, you're exposed to so many companies. I mean, is there any company that you're just like, man, this company's culture, like, that's it? Like, that's just like a perfect model for somebody, whether it's in Gainesville or somewhere else?
Yeah, being a golfer and running a golf course in Vegas where we had 67 employees, we definitely did not have the culture that I wanted. But I was around a lot of people just because it was new, and golf, like the restaurant business, we had a restaurant inside that was like the side business at the golf course, and it's a nightmare. Trying to do everything at the same time.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
And no, but it's a lot of fun. I loved it. It's a struggle.
That's cool.
But I got to be around a lot of amazing cultures while I was in Vegas at marquee nightclubs or at Aria in the casinos, and just seeing the level of customer service at like a Vegas. Right when you come up to the hotel versus even when you're in Orlando or Miami or Jacksonville, just the difference. It's so much, it's just at a different level. Just how they, serve you from the left or whatever, even at the smallest, most insignificant restaurant on the strip, it's done perfectly.
The things they don't even think about.
Yeah, well, all of the chefs there, they all see themselves as billboard chefs at some point, and they're giving you that experience from day one. So, I
mean, that's a huge part of a lot of company cultures. I mean, obviously with ours, it's our number one core value is create and recreate the UCE, that ultimate customer experience. Yeah. So it's the forefront of our culture.
Yeah. But I wanted to kind of cycle on something where I think everyone's trying to improve their company culture or their, whatever, how they look from the outside in. And something I think Brandon deals with a lot is you're working with people without maybe a correct mission statement, without the vision, without the branding, with all of these new social media platforms popping up all the time, and maybe they're reading blogs and reading books and they have no idea what they're doing, and they come to you and they're like, hey, I need all of this. How do you point them kind of in the right direction to start where it seems manageable and it's right for their business? Are you solving their business themselves? Because I deal with it a little bit where they're like, hey, what should I do? And I'm like, well, you need to do these 3 things first, and then we can look at everything else.
That's beautiful. What a great question, man. How do we help them unpack that? We start with strategic planning. We start with mission and vision values for a company. Because again, my conviction, the whole concept of PHOS and being a light and piercing through that sea of sameness is if you get this right, you get your UVP. You get your unique value proposition. You get your unique messaging that's going to cut through that noise from your mission, your vision, and your values. And I believe that affects customer experience. It affects culture. Culture affects bottom line. That's the thing. I don't have time to invest in strategic plan. I don't have time to sit down and try and figure out our values. That'd be so much work. What if you got more work done afterwards? Because you did that. I think, customer experience, again, is affected by all that at the same time, but I think customer experience begins way before somebody ever walks in your front door. Mm-hmm. Your customer experience, your ultimate customer experience, begins with your brand. It begins with your website. And I'll sit down with these companies who have been in existence, some of them for 52 years.
Yeah. And sometimes they're the worst because it's worked for so long.
Yes.
And they need that kind of kick in the butt and say, hey, like, if you're going to last another 52 years, you've got to improve these things.
We worked with a company recently. They'd been in existence for 52 years. It was a third-generation company. Third generation. And somebody told me along the way, first generation is all the passion, second generation is let me keep it going, and third generation, it dies. And I remember sitting down with their leadership team meeting over at Napolitano's in a back room once to have a strategic planning session. And I tried to mine from them their mission. Like, tell me why you exist. The first answer was a complete jab at their culture. And I said, no. Tell me why you exist. And somebody said, we exist and I work here because it's only 30 seconds from my house. It's a small distance. I said, no. I said, how about this? When you sit down at Christmas and your mom asks you, could you remind me what you do again? Because it's really complex, very niche industry. And I saw their faces light up when they began to tell me the stories that they told. Somebody else's face lights up and says, yeah, I remember when I tell these stories about why we exist and what we do to the people in the back who are building the things that we do. And I saw this company light up and their mission come to action. I got a call on Monday morning. That was on a Thursday. So 3 business days later, I get a call. I just want you to know that one of the people in that meeting came to work today more fired up to do what they do than I've ever seen before. That awesome. Customer experience passion was back. And I love to see that reflected on somebody's website. Oh, we have a great customer experience. You walk in the door, here's what's going to happen. People are going to greet you kindly. It's going to be so warm. We're going to hand you a cup of coffee. You're going to sit down on our comfy couch. It's going to be an amazing experience. I said, but your website's horrible. Yeah. And it's slow, and I don't want to be there, and the photography's unengaging. It doesn't feel anything like that. And I love to be able to change that experience and say what you do in store, you now do online.
Okay. Yeah. That's great. We got to wrap up in a minute.
One thing I want to ask Jason before we wrap up. So the new TIOGA location's opening within the month. It'll be open when you're listening to this podcast. Yeah. What are you guys doing getting ready for the opening as far as going to the other businesses in TIOGA saying, hey, we're here, we love you, come over. And what are you guys doing for like a grand opening? Does Maple Street do anything special for that sort of thing?
So great question. So that process had actually started about 2 or 3 months ago. We just started going out and with biscuits in hand, just saying, hey, we're here to serve you. We got to give them a nice box of iced cinnamon pecan biscuits.
Yes.
Once you taste those, you're customers for life. We're never not going to see you. So, but yeah, we started doing that within TIOGA Town Center months ago, and then just engaging them and let them know, being a part of the process of our construction. We did make some people upset with the construction process, but we brought them biscuits too. I mean, biscuits make everything better, man. It just, they just do. So,
oh, you're upset? Here's the biscuit.
That's right. It makes
you don't
everything
like the loud noise,
better.
Here's the biscuit.
No, but so we did that, and TIOGA's going to be a unique location. When we first started with Maple Street, they wanted to get all these old second-gen spaces in towns that were kind of dead and bring them to life. And they still do that to an extent. So BUTLER PLAZA was very unique. It was the first one we've ever done in a shopping center. This one will be the first one we've ever done in a lifestyle center. Even with we had a challenge with Starbucks because obviously we serve coffee as well, and we had to restrict that a little bit. But even with them, besides taking one of their employees, we went over to them and just said, hey, we're a blessing to you. I mean, encourage people to get their coffee and bring it over to Maple Street. We're a community-based organization. And then we went out to different organizations in town and let them know that, hey, we are always looking to be a blessing. And hooked up with Gainesville Family Promise is going to be a part of the grand opening. A portion of the proceeds will go back to that mission. They house families in Gainesville who have been displaced and homeless and just fallen on bad circumstances. But we're also doing a bunch of giveaways. So the first 5 people will get free biscuits and a free meal and free coffee for an entire year. Limit 1 per week, okay? The next 5 people will get coffee, unlimited coffee for a month. Our coffee is house roasted out of Jacksonville. I know because I've filled up my car going to the roaster and bringing it back to Gainesville. It saves on shipping. So the next, I think it's the next 15 people or so will get a free Maple Street T-shirt. I'll take that back. So the next couple of people, everybody after that will be getting entered into a random drawing that will give away Kong cups. We'll give away mugs. We'll give away more cards for free coffee for a month. And then the last 15 people will get a free T-shirt and a mug. For the last 15 people that show up at a Maple Street. Don't know how we're going to determine that, but just hold your horses and come in maybe close to 2 o'clock. You'll be fine. But yeah, we're letting people know that we're here very organically. We're not doing a whole bunch of sponsored this and sponsored that on social media, although social media is a big driver for our business, but we are making that organic touch and organic relationships. We participated in LeaderCast, which Brandon was a part of. So yeah, we're letting people know we're here very organically because relationships is what drives us.
Yeah, it drives everything, man.
Yeah.
Relationships
Yeah, that's
drive
very
everything.
true. Yeah, we're not unique.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. Before we wrap up, just tell the world where we can find you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously we know your locations, BUTLER PLAZA and soon to be TIOGA Town Center, but online, social media, that kind of thing.
So we're on Instagram and Facebook at Maple Street TIOGA, Maple Street BUTLER PLAZA. Very easy to find, and we'd love to engage with you there.
Cool.
Yeah. Facebook, Instagram, both handles, PHOS Creative, PHOS. And then you can reach out to us at hello@phoscreative.com.
Awesome. Dude, guys, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome. It's a lot of fun. A
My
whole
pleasure.
discussion on company culture, something that I'm extremely passionate about and that I love. So that was excellent. And, Ty, any last words?
No, I'm excited to have Maple Street. I'm at West End all the time teaching.
Nice.
So I'll be
Yes.
over there all the time.
Yeah, man. We deliver.
Excellent. Everybody, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate you. Please go share this episode. Go tell somebody about our podcast. Let them know what we're doing. And we're going to continue to bring you individuals and businesses that make you go. I was waiting for everybody to go.
Whoa.
I was like, wait, I was hoping, I was like going for that moment. I'm like, this is going to be the time where
Do
I
it
can
again.
just like,
1, 2, 3.
Do it again.
the podcast bringing you individuals and businesses that make you go.
Whoa!
See ya.